Welcome to M&A Mondays, the UK's first YouTube series dedicated to all things M&A. From interviews with the leading figures in the industry, to coffee chats with analysts, diversity panels, all the way through to workshops, we'll be covering it all. We do hope you enjoyed the video, and please give us a like and a follow on our social media. Thank you very much.
Hi there and welcome to the next M&A Mondays session. Today we're joined by Michael from Morgan Stanley's Industrials team. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. How are you doing?
Hi everyone, happy to be here and happy to participate in this nice project. All good?
Perfect. So just to get us started, as we've seen from your LinkedIn and we've spoken to you about, you've obviously got a lot of different experience across the finance industry. You've had work experience in asset management, auditing, in a hedge fund, and now you're working in M&A. What was it about M&A that made you decide that this is where you wanted to start your career?
Yeah, indeed. I've done a lot of different internships in different industries. Maybe let me walk you through those very quickly so that you understand what really happened and why I made those choices. So first, I knew from a long time I wanted to go into finance. So I started working in asset management because it's pretty broad. You can see a lot of different things. You can see a bit of corporate finance, a bit of financial markets. So it was a pretty good introduction. But then I realized that I was more interested in financial analysis and maybe valuation. So I went into other thing. It's a good way to acquire accounting skills that are super valuable in M&A actually. So at this point, I realized M&A was my end game. And I did all I could to enter the industry. And it happened first with an internship in France. And I realized that it was for me the most interesting internship I had done so far because it combines a lot of different things. First, I would say it's very technical and it's something I like because on a daily basis, you learn new things that you can apply to very different jobs and sectors and industries afterwards. Like it's knowledge that you don't lose. It's not that you're learning something on a very specific subsector or very specific activity that you cannot apply elsewhere. So you apply those hard skills that are very valuable, but then also you apply some soft skills, i.e. communication skills, how to interact with clients, and also how to work in a very stressful and demanding environment. And this is also very valuable. And you don't learn this in a lot of different jobs. So that was really interesting. And also it's good because it's not only technical from a financial point of view, because it also combines some strategy, some broader strategy of the firm. So basically you go to a firm and you help the firm build its strategy. Yes, on a financing point of view, on an M&A point of view, or from an ECM, IPO point of view, but it's not only that, it's understanding the whole business and understanding how you can help the business grow in very different ways. And that's great. Like you cannot see so much in a lot of jobs. So that's really interesting. Then the hedge fund part was just a way for me to see how the sell side works. I say the sell side because usually we compare PE to M&A, but actually hedge fund is very similar to PE since it's basically financial analysis and valuation. So like the fundamentals are the same. So it was really interesting to work on listed companies and see how shareholders react on any news. And then it helps you in the job in M&A to understand how to value a company and what impact could the deal have on the share price, because this is very important to the company and you have to take this into account.
Great, thank you for that. That's actually a really interesting route to IB, quite different. Sort of following on from that, what do you admire most about Morgan Stanley and what makes it different to the other places that you've worked at?
So it's hard to answer that question on a standalone basis. I think it's relevant to compare it to other types of institutions. For example, if you compare it to boutiques, it's very different because a bank offers a broader set of products, meaning some financing, some IPOs. And even though you're most interested in M&A, it's good to see those products because afterwards, if you want to work in something else, well, you've seen what a company can do to grow and what a company needs in terms of liquidity and everything. So you would focus mostly on M&A in a bank, but still you will collaborate with ECM, DCM, and the financing department to work on different products. So you can go to a client and tell him, look, we can do whatever you want, whatever you need, we can help you with. And this is very valuable. Boutiques have other advantages, but the problem is that they don't offer the same set of products in terms of IPO. For example, it's pure advisory, but it wouldn't be underwriting, or so it's kind of limited. It's different. It has a lot of advantages, but I think I would still recommend to go into a bank if you're not too sure, and if you want to have like most of the doors open after that. So I think it helps. But some boutiques are also really good and are super close to banks. Others would tell you that boutiques are more interesting because you work on mid-cap companies and you have more exposure and everything, which is true, but it depends what you're looking for. Then compared to other banks, other bulge bracket banks, I would say that the corporate culture at Morgan Stanley is very specific. I know you hear that all the time, but having been in this bank for almost a year, I realized that yes, the expectations are very high. There is a lot of pressure. It's demanding. You need to like that. You need to enjoy that. But you're not just working for the sake of working. You're working on weekends or late nights because they need you to do it. And it's not just because they can make you do it, you know? So it really helps the company or the firm. So like in the team, they really care. If you work too much, they will tell you that you should be careful. This is too intense. You should slow down. And they really care about your personal life and the work balance. And this is important, you know, to feel supported and to feel that they follow your career and they follow your job, your staffings. This is very helpful, and you feel very supported, and it motivates you when you have to do those late nights and this weekend work. You know that it's useful, and as soon as you know that it's useful and that you'll be rewarded for that, it helps you. It really helps you. And also, Morgan Stanley is one of those banks where you can work on those very large transformative deals that can have a social impact on a whole country, on a region. And this is very exciting to know that the deal you're working on would be maybe tomorrow morning's headline, and that you're talking to the biggest CEOs in the world. And this is, of course, very exciting. You need to like working on those very large deals.
Brilliant. Yeah, hearing from someone actually working at the firm is always great insight. And now that you've completed your first year in IB, has there been anything that surprised you about your job? Anything that you perhaps weren't expecting before you started?
I would say that as a first year analyst, you really have to be careful because your role is very different from an intern. I've done 2 long internships in IB, and the attitude you must have is very different as an analyst. You need to take much more initiatives. You have much more freedom, and you even start managing some interns. So your role is very different. Also, you need to trust yourself. You need to trust your skills, to trust your work, because it won't be as checked as for an intern. So when you send a slide with some figures to a senior, you need to believe in your figures, and you need to be able to explain every figure you put on the slide, and to have the rationale in mind if you get the call. So it's not just putting some figures on a slide, it's really understanding the valuation you're doing, and understanding the underlying reasons why you're doing that. And you have this broader view. So you have to take a step back and understand the bigger picture It's not just your slide in a 60-page presentation. It's a 60-page presentation you're contributing to. So you have to understand the full presentation from A to Z. And when you're analyst, you're supposed to have the technical level to understand almost everything that's happening. So of course you can ask questions and you're still learning and everything, but it's not as an intern. Like you cannot hide behind an analyst and just do a nice slide with a nice formatting. It's not like that anymore. It's much more than that. And you have to be able to do the switch on your own. I wouldn't say surprise me, but when you're in it and when you start doing it, it gets really exciting, and you understand that there is much more in the job than just doing this slide.
Okay, brilliant. So just taking it back now a little bit to university and to your masters that you did in accounting and finance at LSE. Do you think that having completed that, that's helped you in your career? And how do you think that it has done so?
Yes, it has helped, absolutely. First, of course, because it's a target school. So if you want to be very pragmatic, you just pass the screenings, and that, of course, helps you in the hiring process. But it's not only that, it's also, it helps you on a technical level. I mentioned before that you need to trust your work and trust your skills. Well, this is how you do it. This is by studying very well and having good grades and understanding what's happening in class and having just succeeding in your exams, that afterwards you'll be able to trust yourself and to have very good technical skills. So of course this helps a lot. I always recommend to study finance if you want to go into IB. You don't have to. Even if you study something else, you can do it, but it will be more challenging. You will have to focus on technical skills much more than someone who studied finance, and maybe you'll lose a bit of time at the beginning, but it's completely feasible. So it helps. But the thing with those 1 year master programs is that you have a timing problem because the hiring process in most of banks are very specific. So usually you have to apply 1 year before, and you have to do a summer internship at the penultimate year of study. And so you don't have to do all this all the time. For example, I haven't done an internship at Morgan Stanley. I was hired directly as an analyst, but this is an exception. Like we're very few in the bank who have done that. So you still need to be very organized. And when you start your master year in September, you almost need to be done with all your applications for summer internship. And then you need to make sure the bank accepts summer interns that already graduated or will graduate very soon. So you just have to be careful on that, and don't lose too much time, and don't be like, okay, now I graduated, where can I apply? Where can I work? Well, maybe it's too late. You had to do an internship 1 year before, and you're going to lose time and just look for a job for a month. So I'll just be aware of that. But otherwise, I think it's a very good idea to do those kind of, even at UCL, it's a very good school, target school, and it helps a lot. And you need to do those programs. It will help you a lot to pass the screenings. But then after passing the screening, you're at the interview. Well, it's the same for everyone. So some non-target school people will pass the screenings, and some really, really deserve it. But then it's not because you have the good school that you'll get the job. You really have to prepare your interviews on the technical side, and also understand why you want to do this job.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that. Sort of going back to now M&A, it's very broad. Maybe why did you choose industrial specifically, and how have you seen this sector evolve in recent months because of the pandemic?
Yeah, so two very good questions. The first one, so I've covered France for a year during my internships. So it's very interesting to have a regional coverage, because you understand the political impact of a country on some firms, and you can really focus on a geography, and you build a very strong network, because it's always the same people you talk to. Like people covering France, for example, it's always the same PE guys, and it's always the same company. So if you want to grow in one country and build a very strong network, and you want to be this relationship guy that can help put some people in contact with others, this is what you should do. You should go into regional coverage. Maybe if you come from a European country or from another country where the bank has an office, this is what you want to do. It was not my case. What I wanted to do is really build an expertise, be able in 5 to 10 years to talk about a company, to talk about the products, and in great details, and understand the real implications of a company from the product itself to the M&A strategy. And the best way to do that is to go into a sector team. Then why industrials? Well, to be honest, it's because I wasn't too sure what sector I wanted to work in. So if you look at the sector, you would look at real estate, FIG, tech. So all of those sound very interesting, but they're also super specific. So for example, if you go into tech, it's great. It's great companies, great multiples, a lot of deal happening. You'll be very busy. That's great. But you need to understand that this is very specific because the valuation methods are different from other sectors. And maybe the opportunities afterwards are more like into VC or going into startup. Or so it's great. It's not that one is better than the other. It's just that it's very specific. Real estate also is very specific. FIG, so financial institutions, insurance, very specific as well. Industrials is kind of broad. It's like the kind of sectors where you go into it, you know you can build an expertise, but you're not trapped into it because it has so many sub verticals that, for example, if you don't like working on automotive, you can go into aerospace, or you can go into electrical capital goods or mechanical capital goods. And so it gives you a lot of freedom, a lot of flexibility. And then with time, you can understand what you really like and then focus a bit more on the sub vertical you're looking into. So I think it's a good way to build an expertise, but don't be too specialized too soon. But again, it depends on your future career plan and what you've done before. Then the impact of COVID on the industrial sector, well, that's really linked to what I said before. It really depends on the sub vertical. This is a very good example. For example, we usually talk about aerospace and defense as a unique sub vertical, but now we realize with COVID that it's not the case anymore. The aerospace sector had a huge impact from COVID. A very dramatic impact on a lot of companies in terms of liquidity and even on long-term business. I mean, we lost a lot of years of innovations, and some companies don't know how they're going to go through this crisis. The defense sector is much more resilient. So again, it's going to depend on it's really like case by case basis, sometimes even company by company. And even now, it's hard to evaluate the full impact of COVID since it's changing every day. Not even sure how the vaccine is going to impact that. So maybe you can see some impact on the share price directly because the share price is linked to the day-to-day news. But on the pure health of the company and on the fundamentals, it's kind of hard now to evaluate the companies. To give you an example, like a lot of companies withdrew their guidance for 2020, even for 2021, just saying like, for now, we don't know, we cannot say anything. So yeah, now it's more like wait and see, but the activity is really picking up because firms realize that maybe we're seeing a way out with this vaccine, and there's going to be some consolidations in future years. So we're going to have very interesting M&A deals.
Okay, amazing. That sounds like some exciting horizons there for industrial M&A. So kind of last question from me, but what has been your favorite deal that you've worked on, and why, and kind of what have you learned from it, and how has it impacted your future deals that you've gone on to work on?
Honestly, it's hard to give a specific names for a deal because most of them are confidential or not closed for now. But what I can say is that at the beginning, it's very nice to work on the small deals. So you might think that this is contradictory with what I've said before on large deals, but it's not. So at the beginning, it's good to work on small deals because you have more exposure and more freedom, and you can do much more in the team. So it happens even as an intern for me that I did the full presentation. I went to the meeting because it was a small deal. So for the MD, it wasn't much, but for me, it was one of my most interesting projects because I was learning a lot and I was answering the questions of the client. And so that was very, very exciting. But then the more you work in the industry and the more senior you get, then you want to work on large deals, you know, with the large teams and everything. But at the beginning, it's hard to understand the big pictures. So it's not that you really have the choice what you're being staffed on. But yeah, if you have the choice at the beginning to work on a small or large deal, don't be shy to work on the small one because you'll get much more exposure and you learn a lot from it.
Brilliant. And probably like finally, what sort of tips and advice do you have for interviews and applications for students looking to enter IB?
Um, so yeah, you don't have to lose faith, to be honest. It's very challenging. You cannot imagine how many applications I've made, and everybody in the industry will tell you that. It's very, very, very demanding, very challenging, but you need to go through this because you'll face the same challenges in your job. So if you cannot get past this step, then maybe this is not for you, or maybe you don't like this adrenaline or this pressure, but you don't need to lose faith. Like, a lot of people fail, a lot of people don't get the internship the first year of university, second year, third year, fourth year. Like, you have to keep going, you have to apply everywhere. And it's not just applying, it's not just going on the website and sending a CV. It's of course doing that, but additionally, it's contacting everyone you can on LinkedIn, just sending cold emails, and just trying to get some people in the bank on the phone and talk to them and ask the right question and understand everything on the banks and on the boutiques, and do as much internships as possible, even at the beginning. Like, try to do like those spring programs, the summer internships programs. Like, this is very helpful. It's the best way to enter a bank. The more you wait, the harder it will get. So just be sure what country you're targeting. If you're targeting the UK or your hometown, for example, me, I'm French, and I started targeting the French banks and the international banks in France. So I started doing those long internships program. Then realized I wanted to go to London, so it was a bit more complicated because I didn't do those summer internships program, and I find it very challenging, and I regret not having done this. So if you have the chance, do it as soon as possible. If it's too late for you now to do those summer internships, well, still try to find those some internship offers in London, in boutiques, in banks. I mean, there are a lot of opportunities. You just need to look for them and talk to people in the business, because they will tell you how to prepare, and they will help you understand the job. And also, you also need to work on the technical, on your technical skills. This is very important. Like, this shouldn't be an issue. If you cannot answer some technical questions in interviews, well, that will be a bit of a problem. Of course, it happens. It happened to me that I could answer some questions, and it's completely normal. But you need to be as good as possible on this side, because it's the easiest side to prepare. Like, the screening part, being invited to interviews, it's not really up to you, because it's whether they like your CV or not. But once you're at the interview and they ask you a technical question, well, it's the same for everyone. So you need to be able to understand that and to be able to answer that. So study this, because it's like the easy part. The harder part is actually to understand why you want to do this job and what is your deepest motivation. Because if you don't understand that, well, you'll be demotivated very quickly when you'll be on the job, and they will feel it at the interviews. You can feel it directly if the person in front of you just want to do this job because the person heard it was a good job, or it's good salary, or stuff like that. It's not only that, it's really understanding how it can help you in your personal development, in your personal career. And once you go through this, you'll be much better at interviews, and I'm sure you'll all find what you're looking for.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Michael, for taking out the time today to answer the questions and being a speaker for our M&A Monday series. It was really interesting hearing your tips and advice and your route to IB. So yeah, once again, thank you and best of luck for the future.
Well, happy to help. Very interesting discussion indeed, and good luck with your project. Very interesting events that you're organizing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.